Hey everyone, welcome to Pink's Jewelry, to another tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how to attach a clasp to the wire to make a beaded necklace. I want to give a special thank you to fellow YouTuber The Thrifty Girl for requesting this tutorial. I hope that it is helpful to you, and if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to contact me or to leave them below. Okay, so here we go. The first thing you're going to need is your tools. You're going to need a pair of wire cutters, a pair of crimping pliers, a clasp of your choice. Today I have a sterling silver toggle clasp, 2 crimp beads, and of course your wire. The crimp beads I'm using today are by Beadalon, and they're the crimp tubes, and they're size number 2. Here we go. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing you're going to do is take your crimp bead and thread your wire through the crimp bead. Like so. Then you're going to take one of the clasps and thread the wire through the clasp. Curve it around like so, and then kind of pinch it, because now what you're going to do is thread both wires through the crimp bead and pull the crimp bead towards the clasp. You're going to want to leave a little bit of room. Let's make it a little bit tighter. There we go. You're going to want to leave a little bit of wiggle room, because you don't want the crimp to be tightened too close to the clasp itself. Otherwise, what will happen is, you know, as you move around and this wiggles around, it's really going to pull on it, and it's going to weaken the crimp. And if that happens and it breaks, your beads go everywhere, and that is not something you want to happen, because you know it'll always happen at the worst time. So pull that just like that. Then you're going to take your crimping pliers, and if you'll notice, there's 2 settings. There's a half moon setting, which is the one towards the back, and then there's the oval setting, which is the one towards the front. The first one we're going to use is the half moon or the crescent setting. So you're going to slip your bead right in there, and it can get a little tricky. So what I usually do is hold the clasp with these 2 fingers, the wire with the other, and then I have a really good grip of where the crimp bead goes in the pliers. So I have it in that back setting, as you can see. Crimp down, and that leaves you with a really nice crease in the crimp bead. So that's the first step of the crimp. Then the next step, you're going to be using the oval portion of the crimp pliers. And what you're going to do, and this part can get a little tricky as well because it tries to get away from you. You're going to point the crease side of the crimp away from you, so that the smooth side is facing you. And with it facing that direction, you're going to put the bead in the oval portion of the crimping pliers. Make sure it's all in there and nice and even. And then you're going to crimp down. And there you go. Now you have a nice strong crimp. Give it a little tug. And there you go. Now add whatever beads and embellishments you would like, and do the same thing on the other side. And I will be right back to show you how to attach the clasp to the other side of the necklace. Once you've added the beads, it can get a little bit tricky because you need to tuck the wire under some of the beads, but we'll be right back and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, I have added some beads. I just added these sweet little light blue glass beads and these sterling silver stardust beads, and just made just kind of a simple pattern for this tutorial. And before I go any further and show you how to do the other side, I just wanted to mention to you that when you are putting your beads on, once you've done that first clasp, make sure you leave a little bit of a tail of wire and it's up to your discretion. I usually leave about this much, just to make sure there's a little bit of strength added on each ends of the necklace. And with these particular beads, they're wide enough so that both wires can go through quite easily. Occasionally you're going to have some beads that may not fit a couple wires through very easily. So I wanted to show you a little tool that you can use, and use it carefully because you also don't want to drill away too much of the bead. But you can use what's called a bead reamer, and it looks like this. It kind of feels like a nail file, but it has a pointy edge, and you just put it in the center of the bead, and you just turn it, and that kind of makes the hole in the bead a little bit bigger if you need them to go over 2 wires and they're not quite large enough. So that can be helpful. Okay, so once you have that fed through, and this is a really flexible wire, so it's not gonna, if you have a really thick wire, you don't want to have too much of a tail, because if it's that thick, it'll be a little stronger. This is kind of a delicate necklace, so I used a smaller wire. But if you have a thicker wire, what can happen is it can just look like it kinks or something. Now this one, like I said, is really flexible, so you don't have that. But just kind of an extra little tip. Okay, so you just want to make sure you run through the necklace and make sure there's no gaps in any of the beads. And everything's covered. Okay, and so once you have that, we'll go ahead and attach the other side. So it'll be same thing, take your crimp bead and run the wire through it. Then take your clasp, run the wire through the clasp. Loop it around. Pinch the wire so that you can run both wires through the clasp. Both wires through the crimp bead. And then you're going to take on the shorter side of the wire, and just kind of pull it down a little bit. And that's what I mean, is this part gets a little tricky. We have a little bit of an extra amount of wire here. It's a little bit too long. Don't need that much of a tail, so we'll just snip that off. Okay. So now you need to run your beads over this second part of the wire, and you want to do that before you crimp it so that you can get them as close to the crimp bead as possible, because if you did it right now, you'd have this big gap. So go ahead and do that. And sometimes it takes a little practice, because the first clasp is easy to do. The second one is a little less forgiving. So that's why I'm not editing out the bloopers, because I want you to see, the different scenarios, how to fix it and whatnot. So so you just kind of have to keep pulling things down until everything is nice and tight. Okay. So these beads are quite light. So like I said, it doesn't need that much of a tail. So just kind of keep pulling. Okay. And then you want to make sure you have a little bit of a gap between the crimp bead and the clasp. That little loop that we did on the other side, you want to make sure you have a loop on this side as well. Kind of want to make sure they're similar and about the same size. Okay. All right, so this is the last kind of run through you're going to do before you crimp this, and just make sure, like I said, there's no gaps, because you don't want to get this all done and then find there was a gap of beads, and then you're left with one side being a lot further from the clasp than the other. So okay, so now that you have that, go ahead and take your crimping pliers, and remember we're going to use the crescent shaped right there. Use that side first. So okay, so go ahead and crimp down. Then you're going to face it away from you and do the second crimp. And then you're going to snip off this excess wire. And you're good to go. And you have a nice, pretty necklace to enjoy, or to give to someone, or to sell, or whatever it is you plan on doing with it. So I hope this was helpful to you. Thank you again for watching my tutorial, and thank you, the Thrifty Girl, for requesting it. And I hope you all have a great day. I'll be back soon with another one, and I'll be featuring how to make a pair. I've made one, but I'll show you how to make them, and that'll be the other one, of these earrings. It's Argentium sterling silver, platinum split rings, sterling silver stardust bead, and pink fiber optic beads. And it's just kind of a fun, you know, little dangly. So I'll be making that in my next tutorial. Thank you for watching. I hope that you're having a great day, and be safe, be warm, and take care.